So yet again, in a semi-final of a sevens competition, we get to see Fiji versus New Zealand. These two sides have had some great battles throughout the last 12 months, and this one is extremely important. Both sides wanting that momentum, and Fiji wanting to defend their Singapore Sevens title. In this preview, we'll be looking at the group stage results for these two sides, their key players to watch out for, and then also a prediction at the end for who I think will win this contest. Starting off with Fiji, they are one of two undefeated sides in this competition up till this point. The other is France. They are on the other side of the draw, and they have their semi-final up against the South Africans. But for Fiji, they were able to win their opening contest of the Singapore Sevens, 22 points to 19. That was up against Great Britain. A very close game, in fact. All four of the first round fixtures were split by 7 or less, but Fiji winning that contest by the 3 points to get them off to a great start. Their second game was up against Spain. They were dominant throughout that match, Fiji, 28 points to 7. And then their last contest, it was up against the South Africans. It was a draw at the end of regular time, 19 points each. They went to golden point, and the Fijians being able to win it 24 points to 19, which confirmed them a spot up against New Zealand in the semi-finals. And for the New Zealanders, they didn't start the competition in the way they would have liked. 19 points to 12 loss to France. Now, of course, there is still a chance for redemption, but whether or not that is the final or maybe a bronze final, we, of course, have to wait and see. They were able to beat the Pumas in their second contest, 26 points to 21 over Argentina. That was a last-minute try that secured New Zealand the game. They were actually behind with about 3 seconds remaining on the clock to go on and get that victory right at the end of the contest. Their third match was up against Australia. Normally relatively close between the men's sides, but in this case, New Zealand extending their winning streak up against the Aussies and winning that game 29 points to the 10. So Fiji, because they topped their group, they face second place in the other group, being New Zealand, and then South Africa versus France. That is the other semi-final taking place just after this one. It is kicking off at 7:52 p.m. New Zealand time. I believe that is also Fiji time, or for you guys in South Africa, that is an 8:52 a.m. kickoff, with the final taking place at about 12:30 a.m. New Zealand time for whoever wins this match. But looking through at the key players for these two sides, I was looking through at try scorers as well as what has happened throughout the previous fixtures for these teams, and the thing that stood out a little bit to me was the amount of try scorers that the Kiwis have had throughout this competition. They have had 9 in total, including doubles for Akulia Rokalisoa and a double for Rob Rush. But outside of that, we've seen Manson score, we've seen Natoa Tipo, Lasanga, Kitiona Vai, Frank Vainuku, and then a couple of veterans in Tony Nashu and Regan Weir have also crossed the try line. Now, I always say, heading into playoff rugby, if you have more than a few players who are scoring all of your tries, you're normally in a pretty good position, as it just pretty much means anyone out there on the field can still score you that match-winning try that could come about. In this type of match for the Fijians, they have had 6 try scorers, including 3 for Vuiviwa Nadovalo. Actually, all 3 of those came from the first contest up against Great Britain. Nathangi Bonginasoko, he has scored himself 3 tries, and he is actually the only man in the semi-final who has scored in every single match that he has played in. This is actually his debut tournament and already looks like the real deal for the Fiji side. And then Tereo Vailawa, he has also scored 3, including the double up against the South Africans. So overall, there are plenty of players who can score tries out there on the park, which is great news for the teams. It's great news for us watching the game as well. Could mean that we get quite a high scoring fixture between New Zealand and Fiji, but we're up to that stage now of a prediction. Now, the last time that these two sides played, it was a very one-sided game in favour of Fiji. I believe they ended up winning that contest about 35 points to 5. So, of course, New Zealand will not want a repeat of that game. Fiji certainly would. They had a couple tough games yesterday, and in that contest up against the South Africans, they actually rested a majority of their key players, having them making their way off the bench, which is still considered a rest in the world of sevens, but they could have ended up with a lot more minutes under their belt throughout the day. So a little bit of strategy from Fiji, keeping players fresh and making sure they're injury-free heading into this semi-final. I think it's going to be a similar scoreline to what we saw between Fiji and South Africa, and I'm going 26-19 in favour of Fiji. I feel like New Zealand have gotten stronger since that first loss to France, but something about this Fijian side at the moment just seems like they are ready to take another title. Last year in Singapore being the champions, back-to-back would look pretty nice for Fiji at this point in time, but they have got a very tough challenge around the corner if they do make it to the final, either that rematch with the South Africans or the French, who are undefeated. So either way, there's going to be a brilliant final. There's going to be a great bronze final too. And with that being said, we're going to be covering it all on the channel as well. But do let me know your score predictions for this contest. I do think someone's going to score a double in this match as well. I just haven't decided who. But Vuiviwa Nadovalo, to be fair, with the amount of tries he has scored throughout this calendar year, certainly a real chance for that man to do just that. But nonetheless, thank you all very much for tuning in. Like I mentioned, this game kicking off at 7:52 p.m. New Zealand time. We will be doing the live commentary on the channel, so be sure to check that out. Thank you all very much for watching. If you did enjoy, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you all for the next one.